So picture this. You started your brand, you had just begun, you were excited, you didn't even know what you were going to offer potentially, and you got a brand package made. Great, you were a different person 2 or 3 years ago. You don't have the experience, you don't have the clientele, and you don't have the success stories that you have today. So it made sense 2 or 3 years ago when you started, but it doesn't make sense anymore for you because you've outgrown it. So how do you turn your business into an actual brand? Well, my name is Bijal Patel, and I've had 13 years of corporate experience working at big Fortune 500 companies, and I'm taking all of that juicy firsthand experience and have brought it into my company Launch. Within this podcast, you're gonna learn about branding, vision, identity, mindset, and how to scale your business to the next level. So let's go ahead and own your brand. A question I get all the time is, am I ready for a brand revamp or potentially a refresh? And it's a great question to ask yourself if you've been in business 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years, and you've gotten really established and you feel successful, and you're starting to notice that you feel maybe misaligned with the way that your brand either looks, feels, or what the actual words and messaging is. And so a lot of times people come to us, and when they're working with our company, they're saying, hey, Bijal, I loved this brand when I started, but now I'm no longer excited about it. I don't feel passionate about it. And maybe even just a little bit of brand shame that's associated with it. And I just want you to know that that is totally normal. It's normal because once you've had a brand and you're bootstrapped in the beginning, which by the way, I'm totally fine and advocate. If you're starting a new business and it's your very first business, I'm 100% an advocate of you should bootstrap it and do what you need to do, because we need to preserve your investment and we also need to preserve your energy and focus. So it's not important to do if it's your very first business to get like a big fancy brand package. But back to if you need to do a revamp. This is important because you're starting to notice that you don't feel as excited, and we're not as excited about how your brand looks. You're not going to be as consistent with it. And I will cite that brand consistency is one of the biggest pain points that people have once that brand is semi-established or established. So let's talk about when does that actually make sense? So first of all, one of the mile markers I track is knowing what your revenue numbers are. So what is your gross revenue? For us, being at $20K, $20,000 of revenue a month is a really good point to start advocating and looking at and saying, hey, is my brand representing the current and future version of who we're looking to attract? So picture this. You started your brand, you had just begun, you were excited, you didn't even know what you were going to offer potentially, and you got a brand package made. Great, you were a different person 2 or 3 years ago. You don't have the experience, you don't have the clientele, and you don't have the success stories that you have today. So it made sense 2 or 3 years ago when you started, but it doesn't make sense anymore for you because you've outgrown it. Hey, real quick, if you've gotten even one piece of gold from this podcast and you're finally starting to understand how branding and brand strategy is going to take you to the next level, would you do me a favor and either subscribe or leave us a review? That would be so amazing. Share it with a friend, send it to somebody who needs this, and let's get back to the show. So just like you outgrow a pair of shoes as you're growing as a child, or you outgrow clothes, it's really, really similar to that. So you know how when you buy a new outfit, because let's say you're going to a friend's wedding, it's like a really good friend's wedding, and you want to make sure you look your best, and you buy a new outfit, and you feel amazing. That same translation of energy that you feel and confidence, it makes you feel really, really, really good. The same thing applies for a brand. So you know you're ready to revamp. Again, let's cover when you're ready. You're established. So you've had at least 20K months. I mean, that's bare minimum. I mean, we're looking for people at 50K, 100K, 200, 300K, that kind of number is what we're looking for to say, hey, this makes a lot of sense. Let's look at not just the visuals, but let's look at your messaging. Does it still make sense? Has your ICP, which is your ideal client profile, has that changed? Most of the businesses we work with used to serve a certain type of client, but as they've taken root, as you've started to get more and more people who love your offer, love your brand, you've been able to escalate up and attract a higher level avatar. So a lot of times you'll notice there's a brand mismatch when that's happening. So you got to make sure that you're established and you know who your avatar is and you know you're misaligned with that. The second thing is, are you no longer excited? Are you not passionate about it? If you're not passionate or even slightly embarrassed about sharing that brand, you want to make sure that you address that, because it's going to come through in your energy. It's going to come through in maybe your posts look super inconsistent. Maybe you haven't updated your website in 2 years. Maybe you don't even send anyone your website link because you're just hoping you can get around the whole topic, but that's not effective. A website is a tool. Your funnel is a tool. Instagram and using Canva templates in order to design what your posts are, it's all a tool. It's putting a visual memory in people's brain to remember your brand and what your offer is and to align with who you are as a company. That's essentially what you're trying to do. So you can make more product sales or make more offers, things like that. And the third thing that you want to look for when it's time to make a brand revamp, is your team excited about your brand? Like, are they wearing swag? Are they asking for hats? Are you sending swag to your clients? Like, if you're not wearing any swag, if no one on your team is excited about using your branding, that comes through in the culture, which we're gonna dive into culture in another episode, and you're gonna absolutely love that. But you want the whole team aligned behind what this brand is. And a brand revamp is a really, really, really good way to not only get the visuals back up and going, but there's such an energy and an excitement that comes with having a fresh new coat of paint on something that you've already built, and so that you can attract your most ideal avatar.